Santa Monica, a blueprint for the decline of America's cities. So over the weekend I wrote an article and sent it out on my email list with that title, and it basically details what Santa Monica used to be when I was growing up, where it is now, how did this happen, what are some of the reasons for it, where is it going, and then also a historical comparison comparing the decline of different systems and structures in America to the collapse of the Roman Empire, which was a long hundreds of years long process that included many things from wars, internal and external threats, debasement of the currency, decline of morality, many of the same things that we are seeing today. So I wanted to take a few moments to just read some of these pieces, some of these clips from this piece, and then also talk about a great email reply that I got from a subscriber that was very thoughtful and insightful, and it actually gave me some ideas that I was aware of that I didn't include in this article that I'm going to include in the next one that I write. And he cited things such as healthcare and also the wealth inequality that developed from the baby boomer generation, basically having a much greater opportunities than we do now, and millennials and people younger than that have. So let me read this first paragraph. I remember when 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica was a bustling center of commerce, a place for social gathering and generally a cheerful and exciting place to be. In high school, we hoped to spend a Friday night at AMC Theater or peruse the giant Barnes & Noble bookstore for new CDs. Those days are long gone. Today, 3rd Street Promenade features an astounding 50% vacancy rate in its storefronts and buildings. Crime has only increased since the 2020 riots, during which over 80 separate businesses were broken into and looted in a single day of violence and police inaction. While both residents and consumers seem to be in a constant state of convincing themselves that things have gone back to normal, it's plain to see they have not. So I thought to make that comparison of how it was when I grew up and where it was in 2020 and where it is now, and the continued decline is very important because, as you are aware, San Francisco, many other cities across the nation seem to be in a certain state of collapse and decline. Now, collapse doesn't have to mean something that happens right away. Collapse can be a very slow rolling type of thing that happens over years and even decades. So when we hear the term collapse, we tend to think, oh, it's all happening right now, it's all falling apart at the seams, it's over. No, it's not that it's over, it's just that the conditions that once existed to facilitate many things, commerce, safety, are deteriorating. That's what we mean by collapse. Now, what is the bigger picture? The disintegration of the general economic and social climate in Santa Monica is a microcosm of a larger trend which has only accelerated in America since the lockdowns and its accompanying government policy blunders of 2020 and up to the present. Different cities see different manifestations of the same root problem, whether it's petty theft, armed robberies, shootings, rampant drug use, and overdose, to name a few. Cities vary in their statistics in these and other categories. They are similar in their parabolic percentage increases in various categories of crime statistics. Right, so that's happening everywhere that you have urban environments for the most part. It's a widespread trend. Now, the root of the problem, decades in the making. There are trends in America which have become glaringly obvious. It's important, however, to understand that many of these problematic trends have been decades in the making. And with some historical context, one can determine that the state of America's cities today can be traced to a few main things. Number one, feel-good but empty political promises promoted by cheap talk, followed by useless and then actually destructive action. Number two, erosion of moral standards of honesty, free enterprise, and hard work. And then you have often meddling in economies. For example, interesting one, Amtrak. Didn't know this until I read a book on a lot of businesses over the last century in America. Amtrak is government subsidized. So it would not be in business without those subsidies. It basically has been, it was a zombie company that was going bankrupt and has been propped up. Now, we don't realize how much of our economy functions in this way. Those businesses and huge enterprises that are not there because they successfully compete in the marketplace, but often because they've been given subsidies. Look at this latest round of banking almost collapsed, and then not allowed to be called a bailout, but it was. They got a private window opened up at the Federal Reserve where they could come to and get tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars to basically prop up their balance sheet, which was packed with horrible investments that started to really go south as interest rates continued to rise. So anyway, that was number 2, and the free enterprise one. Number 3, fragility of supply lines and waste of scarce resources due to bureaucratic overreach. So those are kind of tied together. And number 4, it's number 4, but it's perhaps one of the most important ones, which is proliferation of immense debt loads which can never be repaid, taken on by individuals and municipal, state, and federal government. So now, to conclude, the comparison to the fall of Rome. Rome, in its hundreds of years long collapse, suffered from many of the same afflictions which have been eroding America's cities. Internal political feuds created fractures which allowed the barbarians from the north inroads, which would eventually spell the ultimate destruction of the once great, now corrupt and defunct empire. Treachery among political rivals became commonplace, with assassinations and coups becoming the norm. The great system of roads and canals, once used to move armies and facilitate trade, became another weakness to be exploited by internal and external foes. Now, it all comes down to the money a lot of the time, right? So as they say, when the money goes, everything goes. When you don't have a stable currency with its value pegged to something that is stable, then inevitably too much of it is created and the value of each unit of it decreases, making things seem like they're becoming more expensive, but really the value of the currency is being destroyed. And then the money. The currency of the empire became so debased over time as people literally cut pieces off the silver coins, known as coin clipping, until the money became worthless. The Federal Reserve's printing press is equivalent to this phenomenon in ancient Rome, and the phenomenon which has occurred without fail each time fiat currency was created. It inflated and ultimately declined in value until it destroyed economies and countless people's lives. Creating currency out of thin air and adding it to a balance sheet devalues every existing dollar in circulation. So you can check out the full article. It's in the link below this, in the description below this video, there's a link. You can read the whole thing, kind of get the ebb and flow of it. But before I wrap up this video, I do want to read some of these great points by a subscriber, and he kind of he emailed back to me kind of saying, hey, these are also important things, which I do believe they are. So, wealth inequality, he says. Let's face it, wealthy people and well-heeled corporations write the laws by contributing to campaigns via lobbyists. When I was a kid, a teacher could own 2 cars and a house in Santa Monica. Check out the top income tax rate during the Eisenhower administration. So that was right after World War II. When a significant part of the American middle class was built. The greed of my generation, baby boomers, is apparent. So that was one of his points. The second one I want to read is about healthcare, which I think would be more aptly called death care, because it thrives on people being sick and never having their health issues solved or the root of them found. It's all about, putting a band-aid on the symptom, not literally but figuratively, with prescription drugs and surgeries and procedures. And so anyway, he writes, healthcare, look at what percentage their economies, look at the percentage the EU economies and other G20 countries spend on healthcare versus what the US spends, and why the results of their less expensive healthcare systems produce as good or better results. I think better a lot of times. The U.S. is the only G20 country that makes money on sick people. All other G20 countries have nationalized health care. Now, that's a whole other discussion, but I do think he, and this is very important, I do think he's right. Eliminating stockholder profits, insurance company profits, and commissions, etc. would be a game changer. But the combined power of the hospital, lawyer, pharma, and insurance company lobbies are too strong, at least for now. The U.S. already has national health care, and it's relatively inexpensive and efficient. It just starts at age 65, Medicare. So anyway, this has been what I have been working on this past weekend, and I think these are very important issues, and I've been spending some time trying to hash out how I want to present them. So I'll be doing more of this in the near future, and thank you for watching.